Hi, everybody. This is Anthony Korf. I'm Artistic Director of Riverside Symphony. And as many of you know, I serve as the composer in residence for the orchestra. It's my job to seek out wonderful new composers, and I'll recommend them to our music director, George Rothman. And today I'm going to have a brief chat with the featured composer for our first concert, Nick Chuaqui. Nick, I found out about through a different and unique channel, and it's a first, literally, because I've known Nick's dad for years, Miguel, and who's a wonderful composer and whose music I had performed with my chamber ensemble years ago. And as I do periodically with composers and colleagues, I'll call up and I'll say, "Can you recommend any new composers I may not be aware of?" And he says, "Yes, my son." And I've already said it was a unique experience, and I was delighted to listen to Nick's work, and found it really quite impressive and very sure-footed, words I use, and very approachable, with lots of integrity and just nothing not to like about it. And I'll just go one step to the side and explain that Miguel, Father Miguel, and I became acquainted through Andrew Imbrie, who any one of you who have followed Riverside Symphony know that Andy Imbrie was a mentor of mine and a composer that we have championed many times over the years, including last year in our 40th anniversary season, which would have Andy would have been alive 101 years, because we meant to do it in the pandemic year. So we did Imbrie's marvelous Concerto for Flute and Orchestra. Miguel had been a student. Andy had recommended Miguel, and Miguel recommended his son. And so I'm not going to ask Nick to join me and to make any comments on what I have said so far in regard either to his dad or to Andy Imbrie.
Sure. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate what you said about my music and the fact that you enjoy it so much. And it's amazing to have this opportunity. So, yeah, I mean, I certainly...
You have to have a good day once in a while.
Yeah. My father, of course, is... my father is very influential on me, I would say. And Imbrie, I know Imbrie's music somewhat from that, through my father. Both of them, of course, more so my dad, because he's my dad, were definitely reasons I got into composition. You could think of it maybe as a family business type thing. But of course, composers are unique animals. So in some ways, my father has, we're not that similar in all respects, like stylistically or that sort of thing. So yeah, it's definitely it's fantastic that we have this connection through my father, and I'm so happy to be able to do this. So
well, we're very glad to have you, and I hope that what you said doesn't suggest that you haven't listened to all of Andy's music, including our unbelievable CD of his Requiem and his piano concerto. But I won't put you on the spot any further, except to add that having a father as a composer may be the very reason you might not have chosen to be a composer. So,
oh, sure, yeah.
that speaks to your relationship, probably. He's a heck of a nice guy, and as I said, a wonderful craftsman and composer. So I want to sort of seize the opportunity, which you probably wouldn't be surprised to hear, to talk or ask if there's a dilemma for a composer who writes a piece entitled Aurora. Because having looked at your great program notes and incorporated them into my own, you go to some pains, which is not unfamiliar to me, to explain that this is not a piece of program music, but you repeatedly bring up the images in the music. So can you, I suspect I know what what you might say, but I know what I might say. But can you kind of square that circle for our audience?
Oh, sure. Well, I like to give currently, in my as a composer right now, I like to give titles that are going to be a little bit descriptive of like images or that sorts of thing, because I find that I can connect with an audience that way. Um, and I've never really done a title like I don't know, Sonata Number One or that sort of thing. But I might, I'm not ruling that out. But I wanted to give an image just so that I could kind of connect on that level. And I guess also the image is something that is in the piece. It's not programmatic. It doesn't tell a story, but it definitely there's some connection. It's sort of an abstract title that I think is also that has a physical manifestation too. It usually starts for me with an image. It does start with imagery, very often. It's often purely musical at the beginning, and then I sort of say, "Oh, you know what? This sounds like this thing, or this," but it does not. It's not exact, and it's just my made up. It's my brain, so it's whatever association I'm going to think it sounds like something, but I'm not putting in the time to really say I need to make these changes to make it sound like this thing to an observer. So there is this kind of association thing, and then it's sort of like, let me see if I can make this piece so that someone who listens to it has like a similar experience to I have when I write it, I guess. So there's kind of this mysterious relationship between you and the piece, I guess.
Yeah.
It's not there isn't a literal aspect, but there's the hint of something literal.
Right. I think maybe in my case and probably yours, the piece starts telling you what to do.
Yeah.
And
my dad really, my dad, that was one thing he really helped me with. He continues to help me with actually.
Yeah.
He said, it's like I'm not talking about one specific meeting or anything, but just like over the course of, hey dad, what do you think of this? What do you think? How's the piece going? He really helped me. He said, the piece is like a person. It's like if you have a relationship with a person, you have a relationship with a piece, and that's going to make the piece more. What I see that is giving the piece more depth, like a character, right, or something like that.
Yeah.
And so that's one thing he helped me with a lot, actually.
Your remark gave me a great exit for us. Unless you have something further to say, I think you've really explained it quite well, and I certainly relate to it, as I said. Andy Embry had a wonderful rejoinder to people who asked, "What is your music like?" Do you know that one?
I don't think so. I may have heard it though.
He said, asking a composer what his music is like is asking him, "How do you walk? How do you talk?"
I like that.
One really ultimately is at a loss, but I think you've done a very good job in preparing the audience for your three movement, right? It's a three movement work.
Yeah. Thank you.
I don't want to say best of all, but we're delighted that you will be there at the performance next week. Okay, so we'll see you at the dress rehearsal, and George will surely want you to acknowledge what I anticipate will be an enthusiastic response from the audience.
Oh, great. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
I'm really looking
forward. Thanks for writing the piece.
Thank you.
Take care.